There's a moment, if you're quiet enough, when another person's face suddenly feels like a mirror. You look at them, a stranger, a loved one, even someone you think you dislike, and for an instant, something in you recognizes itself. No words, no explanations, just recognition. As you see them, you see yourself. That is the holy encounter. It's not mystical in the dramatic sense. It's not about halos or visions. It's an inner shift. The moment you remember that behind the surface differences, there's only one mind looking through many eyes. And when you truly see that, the world changes, not because it rearranges itself, but because you finally see it as it is. A Course in Miracles calls this spiritual sight. It's not the eyes that see, it's the mind. When you meet anyone, remember, it is a holy encounter. As you see them, you will see yourself. As you treat them, you will treat yourself. Never forget this, for in them you will find yourself or lose yourself. The great reversal of human perception begins here. We've spent our lives believing in separation, that I am here, you are there, that our bodies define the boundaries of who we are. But the Course whispers something radical. The body is only the stage. The real meeting happens in the mind, and minds, unlike bodies, are not separate. You've met thousands of people, strangers passing in stores, family across dinner tables, faces on screens, but you've never met another mind you weren't connected to. Every interaction, every passing glance is a mirror, either reflecting love or calling for it. The way you see others becomes the way you experience yourself. That is why forgiveness isn't just moral, it's logical. When you condemn another, you condemn yourself. When you see guilt, you reinforce guilt within your own mind. But when you choose to see innocence, to remember the holiness that lives beneath every appearance, you are teaching your mind to remember its own light. This is not a philosophy, it's a training. The mind must be taught to see differently. Because if perception creates experience, then every shift in perception alters reality itself. And the Course says, every encounter is another chance at salvation. Think about that. Salvation not as a distant goal, but as something available right here in every meeting, every conversation, every thought you hold about another human being. The miracle is not in changing others, it's in seeing them truly. Imagine if you could look at every person, even the ones who challenge you, and silently say, you are the face of Christ, not metaphorically, but as a literal statement of truth. Because the Christ the Course speaks of is not a man, but the one Son, the shared consciousness of all creation. Jesus was simply a human who saw the face of Christ in all his brothers and remembered God. That is the model of awakening. Not worshiping an image of perfection, but recognizing the same light in everyone you meet. If you could do that even once, really see through the mask of form to the formless spirit beneath, you would feel eternity flash through you like lightning. It sounds poetic, but it's deeply practical. Seeing others as holy does not make you naive. It makes you sane. Because you begin to operate from the level of truth instead of appearances. The Course says that spiritual sight happens in the mind, not in words, not in gestures, but in thought. It's private, invisible, gentle. No one would notice from the outside that anything has changed. But inside, everything is changed. When you walk through life seeing through this lens, you no longer react to behavior. You respond to essence. You stop being deceived by what eyes show and start perceiving with the heart. And yes, you'll forget sometimes. Everyone does. Even the great teachers admitted they had to remember, again and again. Forgiveness is not a one-time event. It's a rhythm. You forget, you judge, you forgive again. The Course calls it an art, remembering the truth beneath illusion, moment after moment. It doesn't ask you to become holy. It asks you to recognize that you already are. The illusion is that you ever weren't. That's why spiritual practice is not about escaping the world. It's about transforming perception within it. You still go about your ordinary life. You laugh, you work, you do the dishes, you make mistakes, but now you do it with awareness. You remember that every situation, pleasant or not, is a classroom. Every encounter is an assignment designed by the part of your mind that still remembers God. The people you meet aren't random. They're reflections of unhealed thoughts waiting to be seen differently. Some will awaken joy in you. Others will awaken your resistance. Both are teachers, and so forgiveness becomes your daily curriculum. Forgiveness doesn't mean approving behavior. It means overlooking the illusion that behavior defines anyone's reality. The Course says the body's eyes see only error, but the mind can be trained to see beyond error, to the truth. When you see the face of Christ in another, you are not seeing perfection in form. You are recognizing the formless innocence that exists beneath form. You are seeing the eternal through the temporary, the changeless through the changing. To the ego, that seems impossible. The ego says, "How can I see holiness in someone rude, cruel, or unjust?" But the Course answers, because what you see in them is what you have projected from your own mind. You are never upset for the reason you think. What you judge in them is what you secretly fear in yourself. And so the only way to free yourself from that inner war is to see differently, not with denial, but with correction. The Holy Spirit's vision looks upon the same world the ego sees, but interprets it differently. Where the ego sees sin, the Holy Spirit sees a call for love. Where the ego sees separation, the Holy Spirit sees an opportunity for reunion. To choose that vision is to practice salvation, and it begins with something beautifully simple: remembering. Remember to pause. Remember to look again. Remember that the person before you is not their body, not their words, not their past, not their politics, but the same radiant mind that you share. Every time you remember, the veil thins a little more. The dream becomes less convincing. The light behind the forms begins to shimmer through. Eventually, you start to experience what the Course calls the happy dream, a world still filled with appearances, but no longer ruled by fear. The figures come and go, but you are not deceived by what you see. You begin to feel that there's only one of us here, playing countless roles in a theater of awakening. This is what it means to live the Course, not as dogma, but as perception training. To live among illusions but not believe in them. To see faces, yet know that only one mind looks through them all. It's not about being holy in appearance. It's about remembering wholeness in thought. And that remembering begins the instant you decide to look with new eyes. Forgiveness, then, is not the erasing of the past, but the gentle rewriting of the present. It is the decision to see again, to look at the same event, the same person, the same memory, and ask the Holy Spirit, what does this really mean? And in that question, your perception shifts from judgment to vision. The Course reminds us that perception is a choice. Every second, the mind stands at a crossroads between two teachers, the ego and the spirit. The ego teaches separation, scarcity, defense. The spirit teaches unity, abundance, and peace. Both voices are within you. Which one you follow determines the world you see. You may wake one morning and feel heavy, thoughts swirling, worries thick like fog, but the instant you remember there's another way to see, the fog begins to thin. The light was always there. The clouds were just thought forms blocking it. Choosing again is the essence of the miracle. That choice, repeated thousands of times, retrains the mind. It breaks the habit of fear. It dismantles the reflex to attack. And slowly, the ego's grip weakens. You notice you're less reactive. You begin to pause before speaking. You feel a stillness between thoughts, the quiet awareness that was always there, but long ignored. This is the beginning of right-mindedness. It's not dramatic. It's subtle, steady, patient. You start to sense guidance in small ways. the intuition to wait, to listen, to take a different path. The world looks the same, but your experience of it softens. Anger still arises, but now it feels like a teacher, not an enemy. Each time you forgive, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You're gathering the fragments of your mind scattered across time, all the grudges, all the wounds, and bringing them back to the light. Nothing is lost, it was only forgotten. Forgiveness restores memory, and with memory comes joy. Not the fragile happiness that depends on circumstances, but a quiet joy that exists simply because you exist. You start to understand why the Course calls peace the condition of the kingdom. It's not earned, it's remembered. The world doesn't have to change for you to experience this. The change happens in you, and the world mirrors it. The same people you once feared or resented may still behave as they always have, but your perception of them transforms. You no longer seek to fix them, you simply bless them by seeing their innocence. And in doing so, you set yourself free. This is not blind idealism, it is spiritual realism. Because the deeper you look, the more you see that guilt and innocence cannot coexist in the same mind. To see one, you must release the other. The choice is always between fear and love, and they can never be true at the same time. To the ego, forgiveness looks weak. To the spirit, it's the ultimate strength, because only the truly strong can afford to lay down defense. Only those who know they cannot be harmed can love unconditionally. And so your practice becomes less about doing and more about remembering. You catch yourself in the middle of irritation and choose peace instead. You watch jealousy arise and smile at its transparency. You see someone attack and silently bless them. The Holy Spirit translates your willingness into healing far beyond what you can see. You may think it's small, a single thought, a quiet prayer, a moment of restraint, but unseen ripples move through the collective mind. Every time you choose peace, you teach peace. The mind of the sonship learns through demonstration, not words. Over time, you begin to live in a new rhythm. You wake without anxiety. You move through the day as if guided by an invisible hand. Problems still appear, but they resolve with remarkable ease. What once felt like effort becomes flow. And this flow is not mystical fantasy. It's the natural state of a mind aligned with truth. The universe was designed to serve love. When you return to love, life returns to order. Coincidences multiply. Synchronicities appear. You find yourself at the right place, saying the right thing, meeting the right person, because there was never truly a wrong place or wrong time. There was only misperception. To live this way is to walk gently through the world. You no longer push against life. You let life carry you. The ego fights currents, the spirit rides them. The miracle worker doesn't force, they allow. But this gentleness does not mean passivity. It means confidence without aggression, purpose without pressure. You become a vessel for healing simply by being clear. Others feel safe around you, though they may not know why. They sense peace and are reminded of their own. The Course calls this extension. Peace extends naturally because it cannot be contained. The light in one mind must share itself with others. That is its nature. You cannot keep light to yourself. It radiates, and as you extend peace, you strengthen it in yourself. This is the real meaning of service. Not grand gestures, but the quiet offering of a healed perception. Every time you choose love over fear, you are serving the entire universe. And slowly, the world you once feared becomes holy ground. Every sound, every gesture, every face becomes part of one great lesson in forgiveness. You begin to walk as if the ground itself were sacred, because it is. Everything you see is a reflection of mind, and the mind is holy. Then one day, perhaps while standing in line at a store or watching the sun fall across your floor, you feel it. The sudden expansion, the sense that the boundary between you and the world has dissolved. The barrier was never real. You are everywhere. You look out through every pair of eyes, and for an instant you understand that God is not elsewhere. God is this. It lasts a moment, then passes, but the memory stays. You know what's possible now. You know what's real. That knowledge changes everything. You no longer chase enlightenment. You live it in miniature every day. You practice presence not as a technique, but as a natural expression of love. You realize you are not the doer. You are the awareness through which doing happens. The holy encounter is no longer an idea. It's the way you see the world. Every interaction becomes a mirror, reflecting your own healed mind. You stop trying to wake others, because you see they are already awake in truth. You rest in the quiet, knowing that awakening is inevitable for all. And in that rest, you find the peace that surpasses understanding, not because it's beyond understanding, but because it no longer needs to be understood. It simply is. Relationships are the mirrors of awakening. They are not accidents. Every person you are drawn to, every connection that challenges or soothes you, every bond that lingers long after words are gone, all of them are classrooms of the mind. Through relationship, the hidden beliefs of the ego rise to the surface, asking for light. The ego uses relationships to reinforce separation, to trade, to possess, to complete what it believes is missing. The Holy Spirit reinterprets them as opportunities to remember wholeness. The purpose is no longer to get something, but to give, not because the other needs it, but because giving proves to the mind that it already has. In truth, every relationship is a mirror reflecting one question: will I choose to see through love or through fear? The faces change, but the lesson remains the same. It's not them you're forgiving. It's your perception of them. Every argument, every disappointment, every heartbreak is the ego's attempt to prove you're separate. But when you forgive, you quietly dismantle that proof. At first, this practice can feel impossible. You may think, how can I forgive what feels so real? The pain, the betrayal, the loss. But the Course explains that what hurts is not what happened. It's your interpretation of it. The ego interprets every event as attack or loss. The Holy Spirit reinterprets every event as a call to remember love. That is why forgiveness feels like freedom, because it returns authorship to the truth. You realize you are not the victim of the world you see. You are the dreamer of it. And as the dreamer forgives the dream, the nightmare fades. You start noticing something subtle. The people you once avoided don't trigger you as before. You can look into their eyes and see light where you once saw threat. The body still reacts. The heart may race, the hands may tighten, but now you can watch these sensations without believing their story. You can think, here's the old program again, and choose differently. That is the power of awareness. Awareness doesn't fight, it observes. Observation itself dissolves illusion. Eventually, the Holy Spirit begins to reinterpret not just relationships, but the entire world. Where the ego saw chaos, the Spirit sees order. Where the ego saw loss, the Spirit sees release. The very same circumstances, seen through different eyes, become vehicles of peace. You realize the outer world has never been the problem. It was always your interpretation of it. The mind projects its content and then forgets it did so. It attacks its own reflection and calls it reality. The Course calls this projection the root of all suffering. Forgiveness reverses projection. It brings the shadow home. Once you grasp this, you stop taking things personally. How could you? The insults, the praise, the misunderstandings, they are all echoes of a shared dream. You can smile at them now, like an old actor revisiting a role he knows isn't real. And yet, the dream continues, because there is still learning to be done. The Course says the body becomes useful once it is placed under the direction of the Spirit. Its purpose changes, from attack to communication, from defense to extension. You begin to use your words, your gestures, your presence to convey peace. You become a messenger without trying to be one. People around you may not understand what changed. They might say, "You seem calmer, kinder, quieter." They don't know that what truly changed is the teacher in your mind. The ego used to run the class. Now the Holy Spirit has taken over. The curriculum is love. This shift doesn't make life perfect. It makes it meaningful. Everything has a place, even delay and confusion. The mistakes you still make become part of the teaching. They remind you of your dependence on inner guidance. You stop punishing yourself for forgetting. Forgetting is part of learning, and so you walk through your days differently. You listen more deeply, not only to people, but to the silence underneath their words. You begin to sense that behind every conversation is one unified voice speaking to itself. Sometimes that voice pleads, sometimes it sings, but always it's calling for the same thing: remembrance. Then, something even subtler begins to unfold. Perception itself starts to lose its grip. The world appears softer, less dense, almost transparent. You look at objects and sense the same light behind them that you once reserved for holy people. You understand why the Course says that there is no order of difficulty in miracles. Everything equally reflects God, because God is all that exists. This realization is not loud or ecstatic. It's delicate, almost tender. You may be walking through a crowd, and suddenly it hits you. Every single person here is me. Every face I pass is another expression of the same being. The diversity of forms now looks like art, a symphony of unity playing in many keys. You feel love for people you've never met. You feel peace in places that once frightened you. You begin to see that even what appears dark is simply light misunderstood. And then, the old question arises again: who am I? But this time the answer doesn't come as words, it comes as stillness. You feel yourself expand, beyond name and story, beyond gender, beyond the limits of the body. You are awareness itself, the quiet observer of all dreams, untouched by any of them. You realize that this awareness never began and will never end. The body may come and go, the world may rise and fall, but you remain the changeless presence behind all change. This understanding doesn't make you leave the world, it allows you to be in it completely. You can enjoy its beauty without clinging to it, experience its losses without despair, participate fully without forgetting who you are. You live with an open heart and an untroubled mind. The Course calls this the happy dream. It is the state before full awakening, where perception is healed but not yet transcended. You still see differences, but they no longer divide. You still play your role, but now you know it's a role. You laugh more easily, because you know how the story ends, and the ending is always the same: a return to peace. The script was written long ago, not by fate, but by love. Your only choice is how you wish to experience it, through fear or through forgiveness. The more you choose forgiveness, the lighter the dream becomes. The heaviness of guilt and defense fades, replaced by transparency. The body becomes light, the world becomes kind, time loses its pressure. You feel eternity flickering through moments. At last you understand what the Course means when it says, "The world you see is the witness to your state of mind." When the mind is healed, the world appears healed, not because the world has changed, but because you finally see through its purpose. It was never meant to punish, it was meant to wake you. And when that realization begins to take hold, that the world was never outside of you, something irreversible happens. The search ends. The grasping, the striving, the endless fixing and defending that defined human life all start to fade. You are no longer trying to awaken. You are gently remembering that you already have. You walk through the same world, but it feels dreamlike. You hear laughter, traffic, wind through leaves, and each sound carries the same quiet presence. Even the smallest things, light on a cup of water, a stranger's glance, The hum of distant machinery seemed to whisper the same message: I am you. Everything is one conversation, spoken in different forms. The ego still speaks, but now its voice sounds faint, like static in another room. Its warnings, its judgments, its temptations to guilt. You can hear them, but they have lost their gravity. You smile at them like an old friend who no longer has influence. You know their lines by heart. They were never enemies. They were teachers showing you what you are not. As awareness stabilizes, fear disappears. Not because you suppress it, but because it has nothing left to feed on. The mind that once believed in danger now rests in trust. It sees that everything unfolds in perfect timing. It knows that nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. This knowing is not intellectual, it is lived. You no longer quote truth, you embody it. The words of the Course, the teachings, the prayers, they dissolve into direct experience. You see innocence everywhere. You bless without trying. You no longer need to understand what anything is for, because you have given all meaning to the Holy Spirit, and He interprets everything through love. This is the quiet completion of the mind training. The purpose of perception has been fulfilled, to lead you to knowledge. Perception was the ladder. Love is the ground beneath it. You stand on that ground now, looking back on the dream, not with disdain but with gratitude. You see that every fear, every failure, every tear had a purpose to bring you here. And here is not a place. It's a state of awareness so still that even time bows before it. You can feel the pulse of eternity humming through every heartbeat. You sense that every soul, living or gone, shares this same silence. Nothing has ever been lost. The dreamer and the dream were never separate. When the Course says, "The holiest of all places on earth is where an ancient hatred becomes a present love," you understand. Because you have seen hatred transform, not by force, but by seeing it as a cry for love. You have answered that cry, first in others, then in yourself. And now the world seems filled with echoes of that one act of forgiveness extended endlessly. You no longer wait for heaven. You see that heaven was never a destination. It was a perception. Heaven is the recognition of innocence right now. Heaven is the quiet joy that arises when you no longer resist what is. Heaven is the stillness of mind that has remembered its source. And the source? It's beyond description. The Course calls it God. But you know that word now points to something beyond form, beyond opposites, beyond even light. It is pure being. Not a person, but presence. The awareness in which awareness itself arises. Sometimes you close your eyes and feel it, not as a distant force, but as your own essence. The same stillness that lives behind every pair of eyes you've ever met. You realize at last that you were never a fragment. You were the whole pretending to be a part. You were never seeking God. You were God seeking remembrance of itself. This is the final stage the Course hints at, the end of perception, when all distinctions dissolve, when the line between seer and seen disappears, when the dream fades like morning mist. Words can't reach this. It's not an experience that can be shared. It's the awareness in which all experience happens. And yet, even as you touch that wordless truth, you remain in the world, quietly, humbly, like sunlight passing through a window. You continue to live, to love, to create, but without attachment. The body moves, speaks, eats, rests, but there is no you doing it. It happens naturally, beautifully, like the tides. The Holy Spirit has taken over the choreography. Others may sense the difference. They may feel peace in your presence, but they might not know why. You don't claim anything. You don't need to. You understand that awakening doesn't make you special. It makes you natural. You are not above anyone. You are everyone. The teacher of God walks the earth unseen, blending into crowds, carrying a stillness that heals without words. Every gaze, every breath, every gentle act becomes a transmission of peace. And because giving and receiving are the same, you feel it flowing through you even as it flows to others. This is what Gary and all true teachers discovered. The Course is not about escape, but about engagement. It teaches you to live fully in the world, while remembering you are not of it. To look upon illusion with kindness until illusion fades. Eventually, the dream begins to thin. Time seems slower, yet somehow infinite. The stories of life, birth, loss, success, failure, pass before you like scenes in a film. You appreciate their beauty, but do not mistake them for truth. You have awakened from identification with the character. You know the movie continues, but you watch it from the seat of awareness. You start to laugh more often. You cry more easily too, but without sorrow. Everything feels sacred because everything is recognized as the same. The veil has lifted. You see that what you once called others were your own forgotten extensions. What you once called problems were lessons in disguise. What you once called life was the classroom in which love remembered itself. And now, there is nothing left to seek. You are home, not in a place, but in understanding. The circle is complete, from confusion to clarity, from fear to love, from dream to awakening. The Course has fulfilled its purpose, not by adding something to you, but by removing what was never real. And so you live simply, you breathe, you smile, you walk the world lightly, leaving no trace but peace. You understand why the masters always spoke of stillness, why they said, "Be in the world, but not of it." You are here, but you are everywhere. You are a thought in the mind of God, forever loved, forever safe. And when you look upon another face, a stranger, a friend, even an enemy, you feel that same still pulse of unity. You recognize yourself. You remember the teaching one last time. When you meet anyone, remember, it is a holy encounter. As you see them, you will see yourself. As you treat them, you will treat yourself. Never forget this, for in them, you will find yourself, or lose yourself. You smile gently, because now you know. You have found yourself. And in that discovery, the dream of separation quietly ends. The mirror dissolves. Only love remains.